Okay, most requested video. Okay, so we're gonna do animation. Image scene animation for Alchemy. Where are we gonna start? We're gonna start with image acquisition, image editing, upscaling, animation, upscale. Upscale the image in the video as the final piece before you move on to the next part. So the image before you go into the editing into the video. The reason for that is because a lot of the things that you use will use compression techniques and things like that. You use Fotor. Fotor will take an image, it only takes up to 20 megabytes of an image, but then when it spits it out, you lose megabytes, and that megabyte is because it's compressing it, which sucks, but it is the way that it is. And so you want an up resolution at the end. I use paid programs because I pay for them, but there are free ability to do it. The good news is the main program, Motionleap here, this one here at the top, that's the one that does the animation, and it is free. You can pay, and I do. I have a 1-year account or a lifetime account, I can't remember. I'm also going to talk fast because I'm in lecture mode. Anyway, you can do 90% of what I'm going to do free anyway on Motionleap, if not all of it. It just limits what you have access to in some of the areas, but a lot of the motion effects you can do. Okay. Image acquisition. I use Midjourney. Everything else I do myself, but it would take me forever to make these images. So, and I'm not going to learn Photoshop because it's obsolete at this point. These programs are going to do a lot of what you'd be looking to do. So we are going to use Midjourney for images. If you don't like it, I don't want to say. So part of image choice means making aesthetic decisions and good prompts and spitting out a bunch and picking 2 or 3 that are the best and choosing between them. Midjourney does some things well, some things not well, and that's all. It's all experience and how to play towards and to make picks. These are just images that could work for scenes, and I'm just going to go over a few. The reason why I like this one is because there's this bright kind of like glowing light, and you can do a lot of kind of like throbbing light and stuff in Motionleap and stuff like that. So there's a lot that can work with this. And I like that has some of the static kind of dust particles, because when you add dust particles to the image, when you have some dust particles that are innately part of the 2D image, it looks really nice because people know that they're looking at a 2D image animated. And so it's its own special type of art. So some things are animated, some things aren't, and those things play off of each other to make it look even better a lot of the time. So there aren't many imperfections. You might take away this little piece of metal here, right here, or something like that, but the image itself is already in pretty high quality for Midjourney, so it's easy to kind of up resolution. Lightsabers are cool. When you 16:9, you're going to lose some of the top and bottom or whatever you choose. You'd probably like cut off here. We'd cut off here. So, it kind of sucks, but you really do want you want to use ultra wide landscape 3:2 when you're doing Midjourney, so that you get this kind of like wide shot, and you kind of want it pulled back if you can, so that when you do chop the top and the bottom, you're losing landscape piece or outside piece peripherals, so you don't lose the real one. This one's really awesome. It's hard to get double hands that work in Midjourney. He is missing a foot, but when you crop it, you wouldn't notice. This lightsaber needs to be pulled back a bit, like it chop it off here, because one's in the distance, one's a bit closer. It gives that nice effect, but that takes more kind of editing work that I'm going to do here. Sparks are kind of cool, but when it goes over clothing and other stuff, it's hard to use with Motionjourney, because when you smear and move cape to make cape kind of flow, you're like smearing sparks, and that doesn't look good. Also, the image quality here is innately bad. Like, it's already pixelated now. It's going to look grainy and gritty. The old double hand on the lightsaber play. So if you cut this off at 16:9, you wouldn't even notice. And it's got some nice color, good for this. The cape that can flow. It's got this glare light here. It's got glowing eyes. A lot you can work with. These specks you can remove. I'll show you kind of what you would do, but little specks and things, imperfections are easy to remove. Too much to work with on this image. Really cool. Explosions, smoke, water, turbines, exhaust, clouds. All these things are really easy to animate. So this whole thing would just be like screaming animation. Which would be pretty cool. This one's awesome. Again, this has the particles here. You'd be adding particles. I could make the ring really do something cool. You have this kind of light that you can play off in the background. And you can even make his limbs kind of like writhe a bit, which would be pretty cool. Although I think I'd probably leave them as is and have the rest of and go. There's a ton to animate on this. This is awesome. It's just glare you can do. It's just, it's hard. You gotta be very particular with what you're doing. And with 16:9, you're gonna lose some of this image kind of anyway. So I don't know, but like there's the fire, there's his glowing here. You got this up here. You got the reflection. Tons going on in this image, and the quality's not too bad. It's bad here, but it's okay. It's okay. And we got like we got demons here. Lots of demons, fiery demons, cool fiery demons, demons on fire. Lots you can do. You can remove these portions here really easily. So little imperfections are easy. Things like these you can't, well, you probably want to leave them because they look really cool, but you can't animate like full functional pieces like that, at least in the programs I'm using. You'd have to use Photoshop and it'd take you, yeah. But I mean, like I'd take out some of the imperfections and then add like floating leaves on its own, and that the play off the front and the back would look really nice. So I wouldn't really move them, and it's hard to kind of animate them. We are going to stick on this one. There's some really cool animations that can be done. There's a couple of removal I want to show you on it too, but ultimately it's a pretty good image, and the quality is pretty good. You get really close, it's still got a lot to work with. Now I do 16:9 and I up resolution mine to 4K at the end because I use an ultra wide monitor, and I use 1440p. I'm not on 4K, but when you compress the image size wise, it looks really good. So I don't know what you play on, but maybe you're on 1080p and wouldn't even notice. Again, the good news is you don't have to do half of this editing. If you just jump right into Motionleap with this image, you can just Motionleap this image as it is and spit it out as a video, which will be like 13 megabytes in size. And so you could literally just take this image, shove it into Motionleap, do some basic motions, click export in it, and you're done. So I'll be using Bluestacks. Bluestacks is what's going to run Motionleap here because it's a phone program. A lot of things are phone programs, and people use phones a lot, but I'm going to do my editing on a computer, so I just make it run on Bluestacks. So what we do here is we would pull it into Fotor, and the reason why I pull it into Fotor is because Fotor has a couple of cool things that it can do. And I paid for Fotor. I think it's like, if you do a year, it's like $3 a day. Oh, no, that'd be a lot. $3 a month. I just drop the file here. And again, we're not going to up resolution until after because they're going to compress it in here. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. You can auto background remove. You can just pop out this lion as is. That's one of the reasons I like it. You can do it in Paint 3D, but it's not going to be as clean and as good as this one. And I'm sure with Photoshop you could do even better, right? There's other little niche websites where you can like add shadow to the side. I think you can do that in here actually. Add shadows around edges of things when you cut them out. And there's another image, like one I did with the image with like the candle and the doll. Those are two different images that are juxtaposed on top of each other. I use a different thing for that, but so you get this really good cut. You get this kind of faded kind of with background, this kind of halo around it. It's really good. There's a couple other things that are kind of cool. This shape feature is really good. Like if you want to pull pieces on here, like if I didn't like this cone and I wanted the cone to be a little bit different, I wanted it to be more straight, I can kind of pull it in and straighten it a bit. And I can kind of straighten it here, and I can like maybe pull this edge in. I don't want it to pop out like that. I want it to be snuck in more here. You can do that. You can do these pulls, right? And make it more of like a sharp kind of spiky piece here. So you can kind of do that. You'll notice that as I'm doing this though, it blurs all around it because you're losing fidelity on the image. But when you scroll back out and then later when you do AI up resolution, you're not even going to notice. So I'm not going to do that though. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Object Remover. And this one's, the reason why I like this one is because it's fast and easy. Like free removal is okay. You can do it in Paint 3D. And if it's a really large image and it has a lot of contrast, that's fine. The more contrast it has, the better, because it's easier to decipher the difference between the two objects. This one is really kind of good at doing that work, even if there is difficult in identifying contrast. So this is determining what to remove. You want to make sure you get all of the white, because if you leave any white on the outside, it's going to interpret that as outside image that it can use to assume what's supposed to be inside of it. So you do need to be a bit aggressive on the outside to remove it. And what it leaves behind is going to be, something that because you know it's there and we're zoomed in, you're going to see. But when you zoom out and you don't know, like if you didn't tell anyone, they wouldn't notice. They would just think that it's part of the image. And again, we have an up resolution. I would get rid of these two as well, and I already have. I'm just going to show you another program. I already removed them and did that. This is DALL-E, and you can get 40 free credits if you try it. This is another reason why we don't up resolution. If I up resolution, this image would be massive, and this box that I can use to add to the image is smaller. So what this does is it allows you to give it an image, give it a prompt, and then place this on top, and whatever's left that's white, which would be this piece here, this is the piece it's assuming, it's going to try to finish the image for you. This is a really hard image to finish because it's not a real thing. So when I say white lion, I mean it's not a white lion, and I can't say that it's like in space or in the clouds. It'll just do something weird with it. So I just want it to finish the hair and the body as well as it can, and then fake the background. So the best I can do is white lion. So this one is really hard to finish. Other ones are much better, and the resolution is much better. And it takes a couple tries. It'll spit out 4 possibilities that you can choose from. Like, and some of them are really bad. Like, it thinks it's like a part of a movie poster. It thinks that it's in the Himalayas. I don't know what that is. We're going to accept this change. The reason why I'm doing this is because of 16 by 9. If I do 16 by 9 on the original image, I'm going to lose like the jaw, or I'm going to lose like the ears. I need to widen the image in order to hold it. So I'm playing a bit of a trick here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file now. Download. And then I'm going to put it back into Fotor. That's what I'm going to do. The reason why I'm going to do that is because I recognize that there's only so much up resolution it's going to be able to do. So this gives us a kind of good idea of what you can really push to do. And so I am going to attempt to get it to hide this line as much as it can. And this line. And this. So again, it's going to use things on the left and the right, and it's going to smear to kind of meet in the middle. It's going into the high resolution side, into the low resolution side. So it's going to create a bit of a buffer. So it'll like transition from one to the other. I'm still going to have a low resolution piece on the left side, but there's 2 things. First of all, when you put things into Alchemy, it has its own filter, right? This here, I don't know why that stayed there. Get out of here. What is that doing down there? Bye-bye. That was annoying. Okay, so this is what we have. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something else. I'm going to apply this. This didn't work out really well because the AI for it can't do it very well. But we're going to do a technique. I am going to blur. Now what this is a radial blur. So what I like is that when we're in Midjourney anyway, so when we're in Alchemy, we're really only focused what's on the front of the screen. So I do a double here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to lower the intensity down to say 40% and then apply. Then I'm going to add a double blur. I'm going to add another blur that holds the head mostly inside of the blur. And then I'm going to weaken the blur again. But you notice that it's kind of still blurring the outside more. You're getting a double blur on the periphery into a slightly less blur. Apply, right? And so now you're getting this kind of like this misting blur from the center. Now you can even add a third if you really wanted to, and then make that a weaker one like 20. And that would give it like a transition feeling. So it's going from quality down to lower quality. See, the background, like these mountains were already kind of faded out, right? They already were. What we're doing is we're taking that effect and we're kind of hyperating it or whatever. And the way that it's going now is you can't even really tell. Like I could maybe try to smooth this out better. I could do more with that and you wouldn't see it, but as is, it just looks like it's blurring now, right? Again, I'm not going to do it perfect. I'm pretty much a perfectionist, so I would go back and I would get rid of this more of this kind of blur line here where it's a bit clear that you can, and I would conk it, but we're just going to go with it. JPEG, download. So we've done a couple things here. We've kind of played around a bit with what we're doing. Get rid of this, get rid of these. We'll drag out this file here. Okay, so I got what I need now. I have the complete image. Like this is the image I'm going to work with now. Okay, I'm going to play with this image. I'm going to upscale it. I'm going to upscale it with Topaz here. Now there's ones online that you can use. A Fotor you can use for free as well. Anything you saw with a yellow dot is paid, but Fotor is also free. Those top three things, I think you can do radial blur for free, but the actual like removing of the object kind of thing, you can't. I've already kind of played around with this image just a bit to prep to make sure that this wasn't just like me talking for an hour and a half running into any kind of problems. So it's going to 6 times resolution the image, which is going to make it really kind of large, but it's also, oh, this is still the one that I gave it before. Close without save. Oh no, it's actually this one now. Okay. It should let me back out. Anyway, so what you can see, we'll go with 16 by 9. So when you go to up resolution in this particular one, there we go. See, now it's the whole thing. If I didn't before, it was going to be kind of like this. I would have had to, it would be wider, but it would have cut out some of the mouth and stuff like that. But now that it's like this, I'm going to be able to get the whole image pretty much, which is great. That's what I want. So apply that. We're going to auto do it. I'm going to leave it on standard. If you go to low res, it'll kind of smooth it better, but it doesn't really need to. You're going to lose some detail. If you go to Art CG, it'll be hyper detail. Actually, when you look close up, it's not that bad. Right around here, you lose a bit of resolution though. Anyway, I can't back out for some reason, but you can usually back out and see the whole thing. We're going to save it like that. And that's going to pop it into my desktop here. Pew. These are the two images. Okay, so the original that we had out of Fotor was 1 megabyte. Oh, yuck. And then upres, it's 55 megabytes. It wouldn't have gone into Fotor. But the resolution, once it's done, is crisp. So that's the resolution of the file. That's the eye. Can't even tell here. It's all good. And it's the 16 by 9. So what we're going to do is we're going to open Motionleap, and we're going to add the actual animations. Now we're like actually going to animate the item here. Drag and drop. Again, this is in Bluestacks. You can. This will be on your phone if you were to download it as an app. I just prefer to not. Here we go. So this will pop out as a 16 by 9 as well. And now we have the actual kind of like image. Again, I kind of wish I had done the line a bit better, but you can kind of do it on your own. What I'm going to do here is in this first section is the actual main animate piece where you tell things where to flow and how to move. The path piece, what this does is it smears the image. So it'll pull on the image. Anchors prevent things from being pulled. And as I put these down, it'll stop items from being pulled. Okay. But you can see how the hair is moving, right? Right. So that's what it does. It pulls things to kind of smear them. And then I can just undo like anything else. The first thing I do is I usually just try to anchor the image. And you can't be clicked on something. You have to have it no click, and then you can like double click and move into an image. But I'm going to want the ear to not move. So I'm going to want to put these protective anchors around the ear itself. I don't want the ear to get smeared. I also don't want this horn, we'll call it. I probably could have just removed the horn actually. I could have just in the thing just removed it. And you can delete these. Like you can like say, I don't want that there. Put this back. I also don't want the head to move as you were seeing there before. And so I'm going to put these anchors are so that anything that's on here is going to move. Anything over here won't. It'll take a little bit of practice with it before you feel comfortable, but I'm essentially just protecting the rest of the image from the smear. Yeah, I don't want to do that. You'd think that you'd want to protect the outside, but I want it to kind of flow into nothingness. So I really don't want to stop it from going that way. And I'm going to have these hairs pulled. Yeah. Yeah. And that's pretty much right. So now that I've stopped the pulls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have most of these flow with the hair. And you can stop. This is it's in play mode, but if you stop it, then you can just do a lot of this artistry without having to worry about what's going to happen. And I'm going to follow the hair for the most part. That's what I'm going to do first. This takes a bit of experience with what's happening. I want the inner hairs of the ear to actually kind of move. That's not good. You don't want them to kind of interact. You don't the anchors will create a problem if you have them interact with the actual poles. Nope, I want it to be like this. There we go. See some of that animation. Now here you're getting that kind of like that bore over, like with clouds where you see them kind of shift kind of thing. If you go with the flow, you get a lot less of that. It feels like it's like moving. So you do have to be a bit careful of when they cross or pull in a bad way, but we're already getting some of that animation going, right? I'm going to be a little bit faster with this because we don't want to be here forever. You're here to kind of see what can be done. I'm kind of overdoing it with some of the stuff too. And then eventually, like, I want the mane to kind of get pulled down here. No. It's not what I want. I want these to pull here. And then I want them to line up. There we go. I need to go in closer so that I can get good pulls on the lines. If the lines are too small, like it's hard to kind of like make sure they have these good curves on them. See that it pulled back? I don't want that. It's actually going to pull back if you do that. So there is a bit of a, see, it pulled back again. You do kind of have to like just like let go real quick. Nice. That works. So we're getting some of that pull. I'm going to speed it up a bit more. We do want to anchor the body because I don't want the body to kind of get pulled too much here. We are going to finish it off. Undo that. Nice. Okay. There we go. So that's the animation for at least the hair. Okay. Nice. Mostly works. I'm not going to get particular again. I'm pretty anal about it. So that's what we want to do with that. What else do I want to do? We're done with this. Like this, what you can do is like you can increase the speed. You can make it like just go crazy. But for something like this one, like less is more. Nice. And something going on here. I think you can flow better. Stop pulling back. There we go. Yeah, I don't want to get too particular. I want them to flow kind of naturally, but these are naturally pulling into each other. And so that's more of like a natural flow. I like how it's going down the mains and all this kind of stuff. Good. So we're done with this. There's ways you can change the looping, but not for this image, definitely. And what you can do is you can freeze and unfreeze. So what happens is over here, like if I freeze and unfreeze, what they do is you can like delete part of the background. So right now everything can be pulled, but you can stop pulling with the anchors, but you can also stop pulling by using freeze, and you can start to paint over here, and those painted areas will not allow movement. The problem is they're pixel based, and so with the anchors, it like artificially stops them from kind of taking over that area. With freeze and unfreeze, it like paints. And when it paints it, you can see the pixels when something stops. I guess I could show you as an example. It's not pretty. like if I go to freeze stuff, if I go to paint this, it does this. And so like you can see it, right? Like you can see the outline, the literal outline of stuff, and it's pixelated, right? And so here it kind of hides because of a lot of weird blurring and stuff, but it's not very good. It's not the best way to do it. Sky, you can insert certain skies. It's so difficult to make it work. It's attempting to do that painting effect, so you see pixelation. But I've paid, so if you don't pay, you get the first two. If you do pay, you can get the others, and you can kind of play around with how much ambience. So ambience changes the image so that it'll help to match it. If you take away the ambience, it's the original image plus the background. So this makes it flow a bit better. Opacity is about like gone completely, or you want it all there. Horizon means there's this little line in the background that whites and blurs out, so it helps it to kind of stick and match. I find that these background ones don't work very well because the way that the image kind of gets cut doesn't cut very well. But you can do space. Ooh. There's a lot of things you can do. This one's actually, this image right here, see this here, like this is cut really well. For some reason this image is cut really well. In other ones, it's not. And you can do a painting process too. You can paint to add. You can delete it and get it away, right? Which will look like this. So now you have the original background. You're painting the background back in. Or you can paint to take back the night here. And you notice that, see, so as it gets close, there's this natural resistance to the line. So as you start to paint, it'll slowly reject it. So it'll try to get that artificial connection between the two. Right? And so you can see over here, it's not even actually being fully painted in the actual outside area. Like you're seeing the bats and everything, but it can be so much more clear about what's going on. And you can do this. So it's a little bit clearer, but I don't want any of that. Undo brush, undo brush, undo brush, undo all those brushes. I don't want any of them. Undo brush, undo sky. Yeah, I don't want sky. Ironically, it looks like sky works really well. You can get like the Aurora Borealis. It's actually kind of sick. You know, maybe it's because I did all the fading. I'll remember that. Anyway, I know it looks really cool, but I don't have time to play with this one. We're not going to go with that. Effects, these ones, like it adds glitter, it adds this stuff. I don't want to get into this one too much. These ones on the left here are free. Everything else to the right is paid. Get rid of it. It's the same with sky. You get these two free, the rest are paid. The elements, you get access to all of the elements. I'll be pretty quick. Elements are actually really cool. They're how you can get some of the coolest effects. So like I can add like this lens flare. I can shrink it by holding control and scrolling. And so like I can do like kind of like that with it. Right? And then I can add another one to match it and put it on the other eye. Yeah. Looks kind of cool. Then you can fade it so it's not so aggressive. You know. There you go. I wouldn't do that. This one's they're too thin. They don't look good, right? But yeah, for me, I like the motion a lot for this one. I don't know if I'm gonna. There's again, like you could be here forever. You can put moon in the background. There's a lot of crap in here. Someone asked about like a motion tree. Like I added a tree in one of my shots, and like that I put it in a window. Okay, and what happened was it was like kind of, I don't know if it was this one or not. There's a couple of trees. But what happens is if you want it to be in the background, again, for here you can do the painting. You can cut it out, right? You can get really anal about it. And then it looks like it's behind it, right? I mean, this is not good. But then you can zoom in closer and the brush gets smaller. So you can get more fine-tuned brushing. Okay, and then you can kind of brush it back in, you know, then get this back out, and then, there we go. You know, there we go. There we go. And then it looks, you know, looks really well there. When you back out, looks really good. Here not so much, but in the other places. Delete that. But that's what you do. Like if you had a window and there was window panes, you'd plop that down and then you'd paint the window back in so that the window actually covers it. And so the way that you'd think, well, there's a lot you can do, right? So like a lot of times I'll take something like this And see how I did the paint? See the paint stopping it from coming through? So I can do like this. Oh, and you'd be like, oh, there's like a mask there or something. But like I could paint his whole face, put this here really large, and it would be behind him, and it would look like it's just encapsulating him. That Lady in the Forest one that I did, there's these two little slits, and that's really a water scene put in the back, and I removed the rest of it around so that the water only looks like it's through the windows, and so on the other side of the window it has this kind of glowing effect. And you could do that with the eyes. Like I could, if you really wanted to, you could take the lens flare effect. I'll take the paint, I'll paint everything back in, make it back to normal, right? Give him this huge lens flare where you're like, whoa, that's a lot of lens flare. Put it on his eye, and then you could delete around it. So let's actually get rid of this, because that's going to distract me so bad. We do have to have, apparently we have to have something on the field to be able to paint though. So hold on. Jeez. So you can already see there's a lot you can do, and we're about halfway. Sorry, we're about halfway done. I'll make it smaller. I'll get on here. We will then, hold on. I want to get really close to the eye. Really, really close. And then I can start to, no, I want the opposite. I want the eye to be able to see. I want to paint around the eye so that this doesn't affect the rest of the eye. This is going to be a real quick kind of hack job here. But what I'm trying to do is trying to paint it so that only the eye will show the effect. Only the eye itself. And so because the orange here is in the eye, you'll be able to, it will show the effect. Undo. Now you're going to see some of this pixelation. Depending on what the image is and what you're doing, the pixelation is not a big deal. Because this is like on to dark and stuff like that, it will. You'll be able to see like this won't be very good. I'm already aware that it won't be very good, but we're going with it to show you what would happen. Then I can back out. There's no thing here. So then I can back out and then like actually delete a lot of paint here without affecting the eye itself. Okay. Now, if I back out, I can take this lens flare and place it over here, right? You can make the lens flare smaller so that it stays kind of in it. I don't know how to rotate any of these things or anything like that, but like now it's kind of like encapsulated there if you wanted to, or you could make it bigger again and it kind of just does that. And you could do it to the other eye too, right? And so, I mean, I'm not happy. I wouldn't do any of this. But I mean, this kind of effect can be done on all of your things. It's starting to kind of bleed through because it's out on the outside. But you can kind of like do that and then do it to this eye as well and have it play out that way. Again, I wouldn't, but those are things that you can do. There's tons of things. I have no time to go through it all. We've been here forever now. I'm so sorry. But you could use like this. Like I said, you can make his eye be this. Or the other waters. This one. You could shrink it so it stays with it. But now his eye has that kind of like water effect. We'll leave that one actually. That's kind of cool. And yeah. So that's that. Overlay, you can just add smoke. These are really kind of cool overlays, and they kind of read the image. These ones kind of, and you can do the same thing. You can paint stuff in just the same way, and you can stop it from playing in. Tons here. These ones are all free, but all the other ones, like I said, if you wanted like dust and things to kind of float around, if you're inside of a window, super smoke. If you want it to look like you have a VHS tape going on, lens flares, lightning striking, bats coming at you, blood smearing over, then you want a moon in the background. Again, a ton of these don't work, but if you find one or two that do work, then it's really nice. And so you could take some, that one's kind of crazy. Too sparkly for me. I'm probably not going to use any of these. I don't automatically think how any of those are going to be relevant. unless you wanted like something like snow and you wanted to like lower it. And I don't like these little things. You can't delete them because they delete the snow itself. Raining, it's not raining really. It's a little light snow. And then some weird things. This one I wouldn't add to this image. And again, you can change the intensity and you can use the paint to remove it or add it to parts of the pieces. Apparently I'd go back to none. Ambience means you can add sounds. I'm not going to do that. They're okay. You can use beat loops, but they have free ones they give you, but you can add your own. This is where you can add your own audio. And you can add it in stages of like 6, 12, 24 seconds or whatever video size you're going to pull out. And then you can add your audio there. And that's nice because you want it to be layered inside of it. So when you pull it out, camera effects are kind of stupid. I don't know if you get any of these for free, but it just does this weird stuff where it just shifts your image. And it's like, okay, how is that relevant? Like, you want your players to throw up? I don't know. But what's interesting with that one, I think you can paint with this one. No? Okay, it'd be cool if you could paint and just have like the internal part be what moves. Last one's filters. Filters are awesome. So it really helps you highlight certain colors. I don't like any of the filters that ruin the contrast. See how these ones are like bleaching the image? That one's okay, but like there's some that like just fully wash out the image, right? This one especially, you're losing contrast. So this is the original image. I usually like 9. 9's pretty good. It adds some contrast. These two add contrast. And of course you can like strengthen it or lessen it. It's nice. It really makes the colors pop a bit more. Okay, we'll leave that one. I'm not going to get too technical here. Anyway, you can also then at the end you can adjust these things. I never have, but you could like adjust the brightness. Yeah, pretty cool. Not necessary. At the end you export it. If you don't pay for anything, your only choice is video and I think original. What if it's already in 16:9? You don't need to worry. Like when I click 16:9, it doesn't matter because it's already in 16:9. But because I pay, I can make GIFs and stuff, so I don't need to, but it is what it is. I'm going to make it 6 seconds long because in Alchemy you want it to be the lowest anyway because it's in 6-second loops. 6 or 12 wouldn't matter. It would loop the same. You would just be looping every 12 then 6, but it's always on 6 loop. It would just loop twice for 12. If you have audio though, in Laid, I use 24 seconds to show the audio, but what we do in Alchemy is you have the audio separate. So you want a 6-second video clip because it has the lowest file size. You go to 1080 here, just get the highest output. It's going to export the project. You tell it where you want it to go. We're going to put it into D. I don't even know how long this video is. It's probably like 40 minutes or something crazy. We're going to kick it to Windows. I'm going to drop it into the D slot here. Onto D. Save it. Then immediately creates the file. Close. So now we have the video file. So this is our video file. Pretty cool, right? Last thing I'm going to do is, because we're not going to use Audacity. Audacity is what I'd use to edit the any of the audio files. This is Topaz. So again, this is just for. I should really convert this. Again, if the reason why I have to convert this video file is because if I don't convert it, it won't have the right codecs in it. When it gets kicked out of Motionleap, I don't know why. Whatever codecs it chooses are not compatible with Upresolution through Topaz. So what I have to do is in VLC, I have to convert. It'll still do it. It's just that it does this weird thing where it adds a crap ton of contrast, which just drives me up the wall. Here we go. Then we're going to save it to the same thing onto the D slot. Converted. If I do this, then when I save it, it does the conversion. It gives it the H.264 codecs, gives me the codecs I want, and it'll hold the contrast. So I already have it set to 4K, 30 FPS, progressive Proteus. I mean, if you need help with this, just message me. But I'm going to export it. I'm going to send it to D again, and I'll say, Falcor final. 6 seconds still takes a bit. 24 seconds I think takes anywhere between 1.5 minutes and 7 minutes. I think for 6 seconds it's like maybe 15 to 20 seconds to kind of convert, but it's going to up resolution the video to 4K. It says 2 minutes. It's a 6-second clip, guys. Yeah, the timer's just wrong. This is the progress bar. Okay, so when it is in 4K, it's a 6-second clip. It's usually around, I want to say like 20 megabytes, which is really good. 20 to 30 to even 40 megabytes. 20 megabytes is pretty solid. Because it's only 6 seconds long, that's great. Again, you can do these ones online. The Motionleap that does like all of that heavy lifting that I just showed, like you would have that file that I just showed, the 6-second one of it kind of playing, like you would have that. Fotor, those advanced features you kind of can't get, but you can do the copy and pasting through Paint 3D, and you really don't need to do it. As long as you get a good image that doesn't have any of the artifacts, you don't need to remove them. And I could have left that thing on the side of the face, you know, that would have looked fine. It was just, some people might have said, oh, it looked a little off. But you could just leave it. You don't even emotion it. But even if you did make it a motion, you just control around it, and it would just look like it's just the fur that's kind of moving there. Yeah. Do a bunch of prompts to get yourself a couple of images to make sure you get one that, you know, has the quality, the distance, the 16:9 that's going to work. And once you do this a couple times, it's just going to make sense. Just smearing things, you can pull like water, hair, capes, clouds. I couldn't show any of that. I don't have time to show everything like that, but I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. Things with water, things without water. Okay, so what did it look like in 4K? We have this file here. It is 14 megabytes. And that's the file in 4K. So that's what it looks like. That's pretty good. It's looped when it's in Midjourney. Nice. So you can see the kind of pixelation around the eye a little bit. There's a couple things you can do to kind of fix it. Up resolution it actually does kind of help that a little bit. So anyway, that's the process. I use Motionleap. I'm sure there's others out there. I up resolution in between the steps. I use things like Fotor and a couple other online ones to kind of like play around with the image. But really, all you need to do is the basics. You could just go into Midjourney, get an image, drop it into Motionleap, pull a couple things and drag it, add some kind of a fire effect, click print, and end it. And it would still be about 15 megabytes. Okay. So I hope that helped. I hope that's everything you need to know. Yeah, and I hope this isn't freaking 3 hours long. All right.